Hello and welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. I'm Jasmine, I'm your host. And today you are not only lucky to have humans, you're going to be looking at canines as well because my guest has a friend with her and Bote is loving her. So, hi Sharon, how are you?
It's so nice to see you. And it's so nice to have the canine company. They're such good company.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear her snuffling away, but she likes to snuffle.
Yeah, she's so cute.
Oh,
She's
she's
so cute.
adorable.
So those of you listening on audio, you're gonna have to go see the YouTube channel to see what we're talking about. But today, everyone, I have a guest that I've had. She came in my very first seasons, probably, a few years ago now. And we had met through, we were both, it's during the pandemic. We were both um, guest coaches on this platform that was created. I'm not sure if it still exists actually, but it was something like Heartfelt Presence. And the goal of that was to have people show up in a Zoom room and just be there to help people that were in distress during the pandemic. And we were back-to-back coaches. So she had one slot, I had the other slots, and we just became, pals and chatted. And I invited her on that first episode. But now this time, she has this. First of all, I'm going to introduce her. Her name is Sharon Strimling. Hi, Sharon.
Hello, Jasmine. Thank you. I
Um,
forgot about that original connection, and heartfelt presence is such a beautiful resource. I loved doing that with you.
yeah, it was fun.
Mm.
Um, So today, the reason why, as you all know, I sent out an email to all my prior guests and all of my colleagues, and I asked them if they had anything they wanted to talk about because I really feel like, a lot of us are like they're like, we're craving to get connected to ourselves. And, and then we just have to find the person that's gonna, resonate with us and give us that vibe and get us there. Um, and so Sharon reached out to me because she had, and I had seen it come through. She has this retreat that is for women, and it's called the Heart of Reconnection, a deep dive experiential journey into deep connection. So, Sharon, you want to talk about that today?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. I think I'd love the retreat is happening. It's going to be beautiful, and it'll be in a couple of months. It'll be in April. And there's still a few spots left and some scholarship available for it. So we can return to that. But I think what you said about connection, whether people come on the retreat or not, it's such a great opportunity to talk about connection right now at a time when people I'm experiencing can feel separate from, isolated in one way or another, whether it's what they're going through personally, whether it's what's happening globally, whether it's what's happening in their communities. There are a lot of people who are, I think, um, struggling with how to feel connected. And as you know, and as we explore together, connection is right here for us. It's right here. It's so accessible, but we've just been innocently guided to look in some unproductive places for it. So I think for me, I grew up very intellectual in the Northeast with an emphasis on academics and linear logical thinking, and is beautiful. But I learned to look for connection via having the same thoughts as others, the same ideas, the same ideologies, the same beliefs. And especially right now, that's a fraught place to try to find connection. And it's also so conditional, right? Like, what if connection is really what we're born to be and who we are and how we can experience each other? And it's not as complicated as having to have the same thoughts, as if we ever could really have all the same thoughts. And one of the things that happens if we have to have the same thoughts as everybody is that we get nervous and tense. I can speak from direct experience, personal experience, when people have different thoughts. It somehow becomes very difficult to relax in that presence and in that connection. So I've been really, really interested in that over my life, and increasingly over the past several years, that there's a place in us that knows how to be with and love and feel each other, feel our humanity. And I don't know anybody who has that experience who it doesn't feel nourishing for, right? It's so
Mm,
nourishing. It's so nourishing. Like, you and I have been pointed in a direction where we can sit together and we could have different ideas. We will. But because we've been assisted in this way, we can feel each other's humanity, and we can feel each other's um, beingness. So I put this retreat together, particularly now that for the most part people can be in the same space as each other.
mm, mm,
and and because being together in beautiful spaces helps our minds soften, helps us relax our minds and really connect from a deeper place. I think that over the past couple years especially, the feeling of connection within myself has deepened tremendously on another level, which is that in the past, when I got nervous and I got uncomfortable, I would start thinking about it.
mm,
I would start trying to problem solve, and all my energy would go up into my head, which was already kind of busy. Because I mean, let's face it, who doesn't have an already pretty busy mind most of the time? And I would start to work on it in my head. And knowing what I know, which you know, with understandings of thought and understandings of consciousness and understanding of nature and mind and intelligence, I would start thinking about the nature of intelligence and mind and thought. And I would start looking there to sort out this discomfort. And Sydney Banks, who we both know and have learned so much from, spoke deeply about our capacity to not be afraid of experience. But I was afraid of experience, and I get afraid of experience, and I get afraid of people thinking differently and feeling differently. And I started noticing that when that happened, I would go up into my head to solve it. But that's not where he pointed us. I mean, we do have understanding in our minds, and we do learn, and that's beautiful. And of course, this is metaphoric going in my head. We're always in our bodies, but all of my attention would go to thinking. And really the power of realization and the power of insight and the power of growing and learning and unbecoming who we were and becoming who we now are is a present experience. It's an experience of being able to be with and not run away from discomfort. So it's a long way of saying that I've been exploring connection between myself and others and in our communities. And I've also been exploring connection in myself, which is not to disconnect from the feeling experience that I'm having by running up into my head to figure it out and talk myself out of it and think differently and become positive and tell myself that everybody's innocent and all those things we can do. What's it like to just be present? So I started relaxing more and more into um, letting the waves of experience be waves. Come into my body, come into my awareness, be felt, be experienced, not run away from them. And it started changing things a lot for me. And then I found out that that really helped my clients. And it really helped the people who were listening to me, that there's a way that we can be with experience that isn't thinking about it and trying to change it, that I can really come to love experience as it's happening through myself and as it's happening with others, that I can bring love to that, even if it's uncomfortable. And that in the presence of deep love and in the presence of relaxing into what's going on in me, whether it's tension or resistance or relaxing into that brought all kinds of beautiful, fruitful experiences. And I started to fall in love with the whole human experience. And I really do think that's where Sid was pointing us, that we can fall in love with the entire experience and we can discover that there's so much more to each moment than what we get when we just think about it.
Yeah, I think that there's something that shows up when you start seeing that, like you say, being in your head is metaphorical, yes. However, I can feel it. Like if I'm like really present to the moment, I can feel my brain going like, not obviously what I mean is there's
Totally.
feeling that shows up at the level of my head, like whether it's in the front, whether it's on top. Like I remember when I first, you know, started looking at thinking and seeing, oh my God, there's so much I can feel. I can feel it in my brain going on, right?
Yes.
And when you bring it down back to your heart area, I'm going to call it that,
Yeah.
then it's almost like because you've brought your attention down to your heart area, you can now start seeing, oh, I'm actually up here, which is really interesting to see. I was doing this exercise one time. I was in bed and I was just, I had my eyes closed, so I had obviously I wasn't looking at stuff. I was just trying to see without seeing. And I could feel my cat's energy coming towards the bedroom. Cats are very silent. It's not like he was coming, you know, and I could feel it. And playing with this energy, and I know everybody can do that because once we're out of our heads, we can start listening to our instinct, right? We can hear the instinct, the natural human, the natural things that we can do. And I think that's amazing, first of all. And it once you've started playing with that, once you've started experiencing that, I think that the head part becomes less attractive.
Absolutely.
You know,
Of
it's
the
like,
way, yeah, it's shallow. It's beautiful.
yeah,
It's part of it, but it's such a narrow sliver of our awareness.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, the head is fantastic. We can create. I mean, if we
Mm.
look at artists and, singer-songwriters and, they of course have to go into their heads, but there's like a beautiful mix of it, right? And I think that what's happening when we're always in our heads or when we don't even know that we're in our heads, there's just like one filter. It's like this is only going to be thought, and then get we kind of get lost in it, and then we feel that there's something off, we feel that there's something not working, but now the habit is so heady, right, that we can't know what's off, right? So it has to, you gotta get back to presence and start feeling again this, okay, wait, oh, I'm already only there. Let me, I'm a human being. I can feel, I can see, I can touch, I can, let's have a mix of those things, not just one thing.
Absolutely. I think of it as a dance. I think of it as a dance. Our intellect, which I'm sort of calling the head, but there's other parts of the brain, of course, but our intellect and our quieter presence, and our creative nature dance together in such a beautiful way. And if you're like me, I was trained to go to my head whenever there was a problem. It came from an early age. We come by it honestly, right? And particularly if we get frightened, the 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 mind, the left brain really kicks into gear and it starts scrambling. But so much of what I get frightened from is I've realized is just an experience. I would notice that after I let myself feel something that felt too painful to feel emotionally or in my body, or felt too scary, I would look at myself and I would go, and then I'd be able to share with others, like, nothing's bruised, nothing's scratched, nothing's broken. Like, what did I think would happen? What did I think would happen if I let myself feel that loneliness or that grief or that fear? What did I think would happen? And little by little, my system's learning that every time I just let the wave, I think of it like waves. I live on an island, so I love waves. And I think of it like waves that start to gather intensity, and that can frighten us. And then they keep going up, and then they crescendo and they crest, and then they crash. And then there's this receding water that's so quiet and beautiful. And I've been trying to hold the waves back. And the way that manifested was that feeling you talk about in the head.
Yeah.
What's it like to be present as that wave crescendos? I have a quick story, if I may.
Of course.
I was I was going through something very difficult with my partner at one point, and I was alone, and we were in different homes in different areas, and a Frank Sinatra song came on my stereo, and I have those speakers where you can just tap them on the top and they turn off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this Frank Sinatra song came on, and there was this welling up of energy that I could describe as, in retrospect, as a welling up of potential loneliness or sadness. And it frightened me. So I immediately put my hand out to tap the speaker. And I saw my hand reach for that speaker. And I saw it and I stopped my hand and I drew it back. And my first thought was, I can't feel this. It's too big. This loneliness, this ache. And my next thought was, let's see. And I stayed still. And that feeling, it gained energy and it crescendoed and it was big. But at the very height of that energy, it was so beautiful. It totally took me by surprise, but it took my breath away. And then the energy crashed and receded. And I was left standing there, sort of swaying to this Frank Sinatra, beautiful music, having felt what I could name the intensity of letting the loneliness sort of envelop I relaxed into it. I softened into it. I let it come. I invited it. I let it get as big as it could get. And it truly surprised me, the kind of beauty it brought. And I don't have words for it. But when all was said and done, and I was left standing there swaying to the music, I was very touched. And I felt free of my freedom, of my fear, free of my fear of loneliness for the first time in my life, because I had let myself experience it. And it was exquisite. And then I went over to my refrigerator. For some reason, I was hungry. I realized I was hungry, and I went over to my refrigerator, and I had all these beautiful vegetables, and I had a yogurt in there. And I usually like to make vegetable dishes, but I reached for the yogurt and I was going to grab some granola. And for some reason, I realized in that moment, this is me avoiding loneliness again. If I start chopping vegetables, I'm going to feel alone. And suddenly it was like, okay, so what? I had the capacity to reach for the vegetables and make myself the meal that I wanted. And so I instantly had both the experience of how beautiful life can be when we allow ourselves to, to feel and to not run into the head and not try to resist and not fight myself and not change my experience. And then I had this happy circumstance where I got to eat the thing I really wanted to eat because I had more capacity. I wasn't running away from a feeling anymore. I ended up writing a poem about that because it just touched me so much. But it's I think a good example of how our lives can get bigger and freer and more open the more our subconscious and our whole self learns that this experience and this experience and this experience and this experience are all safe. There's nothing that's going to swallow me whole if I feel grief. And in fact, if I invite it in with less resistance, the quality to it changes. And I don't mean inviting in story, as you know. I don't mean thinking about it. I just mean, what does it take? A few seconds to let a feeling be had. And I know if I go into my head and I resist it, I'm pushing that wave back for minutes or hours or days. And then I have this ongoing, right? This ongoing level of tension.
Yeah.
But the feelings, they last a few seconds.
That's what I was thinking when you were sharing. I was like, so this was just an experience of a moment, but there are those things that we carry with us all our lives, you know, like I had this experience lately where there was something that I wasn't saying that I was carrying with me that, and I mean, I was carrying it decades. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it. And,
Right.
but the more that I'm looking in the direction of within, the more I'm looking within, the more I see things that, well, this just doesn't work. What? This doesn't work for me. Why do I keep doing it? And then I can see that I'm human, and because I'm human, I do things automatically. But if I slow it down, like when we think of automatic thinking, this is just a series of thoughts that we've already had that come in so fast that we don't even see them coming in. Like it's like boom, like open, turning on the light. That's how quick that happens. But if we can see, okay, well, uh, there's something not working here. What's going on within? So I keep looking within. I keep looking within. And it has nothing to do with fixing myself. It has nothing to do with there's something wrong. There's just like, there's something off. There's something that's not working, and I don't know what it is, because I know for a fact that when I'm in a clear space, when I'm like I'm in peace, I'm at peace, I'm there, nothing bothers me, right? So now I see things like, when I get annoyed with something, I'm like, wonder what that's about, because that's, for me, I get annoyed. I'm like, I don't want that, and I could see this one thing was reoccurring and reoccurring, and it was kind of like I had it. Well, that's who I am, right? It's like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen, and I'm gonna do that. And that's who I am. That's it. Like that, and that, because I had that automatic way of seeing it. Well, nothing would ever change.
Right.
Nothing, like it was there. That's who I was. So if you put this blanket statement on something that says that's it, well, you're never going to see anything other, you're not going to see something new, right? But
Absolutely.
once I saw it, and once I there's something around saying it out loud in a safe environment. I don't know if you have that experience, but
Mm.
like there's something about being able to say it out loud when you're coming from your heart. This is what I'm seeing, that can take a big bubble of thinking and just go poof, and it's gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember noticing, I remember noticing, and I love how you point to that. Like, if we don't think something is possible, it doesn't tend to come for the most part, right? So that great story, I don't know if you know the story, but about there was a sprint, there was a world record on a sprint. I forget the distance. And nobody for decades could beat that time, a running sprint. And it was assumed that it was believed that the human body, that was the maximum. That was as
Mm.
fast as a human body could move. And then one person beat the record, and then there was a slew of other people who beat the record. And I think that's a great metaphor for us. When unless we know that there's total freedom, we are learning systems. We are knowledge itself expanding and growing. We can see that everything we touch, everything we see, everything we experience in life grows us. We're never the same person twice. But we can get this idea that there's this person I am, like you said.
Yeah.
And when that idea falls apart as the untruth that it is, well, learning for me, like I geek out on being wrong. I geek out on learning. I love the fact that I discover that I have limited myself in way after way after way after way, time after time. And then I think life becomes fascinating because every day we're open to what's being seen today. And and then we can do that together, like you said, saying it out loud. Like I loved saying when I was first with my partner, when we were getting to know each other, I would just come forward and say, hey, I'm super insecure right now, sorry, I'm super needy, don't worry about it, like I got a call coming up, I'll sort it out, but just so you know, that's gone. And I could laugh about it, and the shame around it that I had once felt was just gone. It's like we're just learners. We get caught up in our heads, we have conditioning, we've had experiences, we've all had our challenges, and they manifest in this way or that way or that way until they don't, until something new occurs to us. And in this field of consciousness that's just so, it's like pure knowledge. We're living in pure knowledge, and in that field, life gets really interesting. And that is a shared field. The field of consciousness and knowledge is a shared field. And science, I heard a new term for science now, post-materialist science. That's a coined phrase now, as more and more scientists are pointing to the fact that we do not live in a materialist world. And there's peer-reviewed, all the right literary, scientific journal studies that have been showing this for a very long time that have been poo-pooed, but they're getting more and more prevalent. And we knew that anyway without the science, but the science is there to show we share consciousness. There's a beautiful, if people haven't heard of it yet, the telepathy tapes on Spotify, on YouTube, they're blowing people's minds about a nonverbal autistic population that's meeting on a place called the Hill. They're all hanging out in consciousness together where they can communicate with each other, and it's documented around the world. And it's a great podcast to kind of blow your mind and realize, like, yeah, that is not as fast as a human body can go. And this science is not what it looks like. And consciousness is just ripe for us to be present with it and learn, and connected from that heart space, connected from the creative space, connected from that infinite, like fertile ground for love that unites us no matter what we think, which I think the time has really come for.
Mm. Sharon, believe it or not, we've gone through our time.
What? All right.
No.
Well done. That was fun.
Let's let's maybe talk a little bit, just give a little bit of information on the retreat. So it's in Mexico, and okay, so the things that I remember: Mexico, turtles, and tree houses.
Oh, but you picked out the best bits. And us beautiful women. Yes, you picked out the best bits. An eco resort, very comfortable, very sort of eco luxury, beautiful, every treehouse facing the water, wide open, and a turtle sanctuary where there'll be a baby turtle release. There'll be a local Mexican grandmama who will run a cacao ceremony for us, which is a traditional healing ceremony. And we'll have these conversations, and we'll also have tons of open free time. I made the retreat nice and long. It's 8 days, all inclusive. And we will meet mostly in the mornings and then have time in the ocean and in the pool, and time to be alone or time to be together, and really have time to reconnect with what already exists, connection in ourselves, between each other, and with the earth. There's a beautiful farm there, and all farm to table meals. And it's very, very special. The integrity of the resort and the care for their community and the care for the land is an integral part of this. And we'll get to revel in being together, connecting in a deeper way than we might go about, in our day-to-day lives. And before that, a month before and for 3 months following, there will be group calls, optional, but I think a real treat to help that retreat embed in us for life, so that it's not just something we go to and that falls away, but becomes really a part of our integrated understanding and capacities. And it's happening April 5th to 12th. Some of us are traveling on the 4th. That's another story. And there's a couple of spots left. I think there's 2 spots left, maybe 3. And I'm open to anybody reaching out uh, if they would like to be there to help them make that happen. We have some scholarship available and a lot of fun waiting. So thanks for asking. It'll be very special.
All right, guys. So if you're interested in going, just reach out. Go to the website, reach out. You'll see it's going to be great.
Oh, yeah, it'll be beautiful. Thank you so much, Jasmine. It's been really lovely talking with you again.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting. I'm so happy with everything that you're doing, and I know that you're going to have fun.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, everybody, I'm going to say have a good day. Dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Bye.